This is the United Kingdom. It once ruled 1/4 of the entire globe, and it was said that the sun never set on the British Empire. But it appears that these shadows are creeping and about to bring Britain to its economic knees. From bustling London to cobbled streets in Glasgow, cities buckle under the strain. Housing prices soar, schools overflow, and tempers flare. And this has been happening for some years. Since 2008, real wages, which means wages adjusted for how prices rise over time, have gone down. This means that after almost 15 years, the average wage in April 2023 was actually lower than it was in February 2008. Because of this, the average workers lost about $10,700 each year. This is unlikely to get better because British families were already struggling with money when the pandemic hit. It'll take a long time to get back to how they used to live, especially since it's predicted that household income won't be like before the pandemic until at least 2027. Also, Britain is living in the post-Brexit era, which many thought would be a better period, especially with the migration influx and problems with the EU. But now it appears some of the economic sectors are hard hit, especially the fishing and manufacturing sectors. And with political leaders having problems and new elections coming up, things seem worrying. But did Brexit improve the situation, or is it a liability? We'll explore this in detail. Also, stay till the end to find out why Brexit is also causing problems for Honda, Sony, and Nissan. But first, we have to go to where it all started. In 2016, during the time of the Brexit vote, the results showed that 52% of people voted to leave the European Union, while 48% voted to stay. This caused many people to search online for answers to questions like, what is Brexit and what is the EU? Some newspapers even wondered if the British people understood what they were voting for. After almost 4 years, on January 31st, 2020, Britain officially left the European Union. When the UK and the EU announced their trade deal on December 24th, 2020, it was a relief for many. It meant they avoided the worst-case scenario, leaving the EU without a trade agreement, which could have caused problems for businesses and ordinary people alike. However, not everyone benefited from the deal. Brexit brought new challenges for both the UK and the EU economies. They had to follow new rules, and some issues remained unresolved. When the deal was announced, the value of the British pound went up a bit against the US dollar and the Japanese yen. But overall, people were still worried about the long-term effects of Brexit on the UK economy. Then, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, causing more difficulties for trade between the UK and the EU. This makes it hard to figure out exactly how much Brexit affected different parts of the UK economy. But we can still see that some industries, like car manufacturing, had to make changes because of Brexit rules about where parts come from. While some companies explored new sources for parts within Europe or the UK, it's not clear whether these rules will benefit the UK or the EU more. Additionally, London-based banks had to think about setting up new branches in the EU to keep doing business there. American banks already had some rights to operate in the EU, which put UK banks at a disadvantage. As a result, American financial institutions might attract business and clients away from UK firms during this time. On the flip side, when we talk about the negative impacts, Brexit definitely changes how the UK and the EU interact in many areas, causing new administrative and regulatory hurdles. New requirements such as local licenses, visas, border checks, and relocating employees affect businesses across different sectors, from farming to finance. Many parts of the economy weren't ready for these new rules and were worried about the costs of following them. Even though the UK fishing industry is not a big contributor to the economy, discussions about it were major obstacles in reaching a trade agreement. Initially, it seems like the trade deal benefits the UK fishing sector. According to the UK government, quotas for British fishermen will increase over 5 years by an amount equal to 25% of the EU's fishing catch value in UK waters, estimated at around 146 million British pounds. But calling this a complete success overlooks two important things. Firstly, the UK fishing industry expected more from the EU. Industry representatives argue that the deal falls short of the promises made to them during the pro-Brexit campaign. Secondly, a lot of seafood caught in the UK is exported to the EU. The new barriers after Brexit have created big challenges, especially for those selling perishable goods. Another affected group is the food and farming sector. New rules and checks at borders affecting the movement of agricultural products between the EU and the UK pose challenges for farmers, distributors, supermarkets, restaurants, and consumers. Before Brexit, US retailers and consumers stocked up on food, causing shortages and disruptions in supply chains. This raised concerns about panic buying. Since the UK relies on the EU for fresh food in winter, transport delays immediately caused problems. Scottish exporters were frustrated by delays in shipping fresh seafood due to checks in Scotland and France. Supermarkets like Sainsbury's had to find new sources of goods because of the complicated arrangements affecting Ireland. Tesco also faced shortages, resulting in empty shelves. However, it's crucial to understand that problems with supply chains and transportation don't just affect farming, but also impact every industry. Manufacturing is dealing with its own difficulties. In modern manufacturing, where supply chains are complex and stretch across different countries, even small barriers besides tariffs can make producing things much harder. Even before the trade deal was finalized, major companies in sectors like cars, aerospace, and industrial goods had to reduce their workforce and close down facilities in the UK. Well-known companies such as Honda, Nissan, BMW, Toyota, and Jaguar Land Rover were affected. Panasonic and Sony planned to move their European headquarters from London to Amsterdam. And a couple of years earlier, a big Dutch company, Philips, shut down its only factory in the UK. The trade deal introduces strict rules on goods moving between the EU and the UK. It says products usually need to have more than 50% of their parts sourced locally to qualify for the benefits of free trade and other perks from the deal. This means big manufacturers with complex products made from parts from different countries might have to find new suppliers. While this could eventually benefit some local manufacturers, setting rules about where goods come from has added a lot of paperwork for businesses in both regions. Many businesses weren't ready for this and hadn't checked where their goods were from. This has become one of the biggest problems for trade after Brexit. Like other industries, travel and shipping also face difficulties because of Brexit. Flights between the EU and the UK had some time to adjust, but then rules became stricter. Only airlines owned by EU countries can fly between EU airports, with a few exceptions for UK airlines with mixed EU and UK ownership. Moving people and goods has become more complicated too. Travelers now need passports, and some people need visas for longer stays. For instance, the EU only allowed 2,000 permits for UK freight trucks to drive on EU roads in 2021, but 10,000 were needed. There's a lot of paperwork for permits and border checks, and thousands of customs agents are needed each year. However, besides the challenges of the post-Brexit era, poor governance and political instability have caused significant problems for the British economy. Despite efforts to increase trade with non-EU nations such as Australia, which the British government sees as a major success, these deals have had relatively small impacts. Brexit has also led to significant changes in the UK's manufacturing sector and productivity. By mid-2023, goods trade had dropped by 10.5% compared to levels before the trade agreement with the EU, while services trade remained largely unaffected. This shift has caused restructuring in the manufacturing industry, leading to declines in high-productivity sectors like chemicals and transport manufacturing due to their reliance on European supply chains. This has increased dependence on lower productivity areas like domestic food manufacturing, similar to the post-World War II era. This situation slows economic growth, reduces innovation, and weakens the UK's position in the global market. Despite commitments to reducing carbon emissions and achieving net zero by 2050, the UK government has faced criticism for policies that contradict these goals. For example, opening new North Sea oil fields like the Rosebank project conflicts with long-term economic and environmental strategies. These decisions reflect a short-term focus that undermines long-term goals, a trend that has started to dominate British politics and affect the economy. While some argue that these policies maintain competitiveness in the short term against countries like China and India, they overlook the potential for the UK to become a global leader in sustainable industries, which could significantly boost productivity and growth in the future. The future of Britain's economy remains uncertain amidst these challenges. Britain must prioritize stability and effective governance to instill confidence among businesses and citizens alike. Transparent decision-making processes and political cooperation are essential to navigate uncertainties and foster trust in the government's ability to steer the nation forward. Diversifying trade relationships beyond the EU is imperative for the UK's economic resilience. While recent trade deals with non-EU nations are positive steps, efforts should continue to explore new markets and strengthen ties with existing partners to mitigate risks associated with over-reliance on any single market. Supporting businesses and adapting to new trading conditions post-Brexit is crucial. The government should provide resources and assistance to facilitate smooth transitions, including financial support, training programs, and access to information on regulatory changes. Investment in innovation and technology is key to enhancing the competitiveness of British industries. By supporting research and development initiatives and fostering collaboration between academia and industry, the UK can capitalize on emerging opportunities and drive economic growth. Promoting sustainable practices across industries is essential for long-term prosperity. Government policies should incentivize the adoption of renewable energy, green transportation, and resource efficiency to mitigate environmental risks and capitalize on opportunities in the green economy. Skills development is also paramount to ensure the UK workforce remains competitive. Investing in education and training programs, including apprenticeships and lifelong learning opportunities, will equip individuals with the skills needed for the jobs of the future. But whether the present leadership is ready for these changes is the big question. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And if you like the content, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like the video. And for more economic insights, check out our video on the German economy.